So we got a lot. I can tell you, we got a lot of work to do. Um, we've got some positions, obviously, that are needs that need to be addressed. I like how we've come out to practice. I don't know if I like how we finished it completely. And so we've got to do a better job of finishing. That's a big part. You want to finish games. You want to finish the month of November. And so that's something that we talk about and something that we need to do. The leadership's been good. I like how our guys have worked together and the things that they've done. And I think there's some examples out there that guys are trying to show and trying to do a good job with. So, as far as that goes, I'm excited about being able to be out there in pads. We started that yesterday, and it was good to be out there and see some guys hit and be physical.
When you talk about positions where needs need to be addressed, are there ones that you can name?
Well, I think they're all open, as you know. But, the front defensively, the front offensively, I mean, that's where the game's played, and that's where we've got to be more physical. I don't think we've been as tough at the point of attack in the 4 days that we've had as we'd like to be. But I probably said the same thing last year at this time. So I think the guys are working at it. I think Will is trying to Will Campbell, step up as a leader. I think Ricky Barnum is. I think, you see Taylor coming along as a leader, and so I think guys are working together well. I think they understand the expectations.
You mentioned guys on the line being leaders. Do you almost need to have that? Because
say that one more
do you
time.
almost
Sorry.
feel like you need to have guys on the line be team leaders? Is that for you very important?
I don't know if it's the most important thing, but I think when you've got a guy who plays in the physical part of the football team, I think that's that can make a difference to some degree. Defensively, Kovacs is a guy who shows a great deal of leadership. Kenny. I think Craig Rowe is doing a great job, with the position change and everything else. He's been active. I think it's going to pay off in the long run with that change. And then offensively, Ricky's, a senior. Elliott's doing a good job at the guard position, left guard position. And then Taylor. So when you look at those up front guys, those guys are doing a good job. But it doesn't necessarily. I think Denard is really working hard to be a good leader for us.
What do you like specifically about Elliott in that spot? Obviously, he's had to wait some time to get in there and play. But
I right now I like his work ethic, his demeanor, and how he. I think he's got a bit more confidence than he had last year at this time. Excuse me.
Greg mentioned earlier this week that Craig Rowe might actually be better suited for the strong side. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. We wouldn't have moved him if we both wouldn't have felt that way. Because I think he's gaining, the strength in the weight that he'll continue to do, but he has a burst to him and a good first step, which gives him a little more speed, a little more of a guy who can give you a three-way move, which is important up front.
Have you set a target weight for him?
We like for him to be about 280, 282, and he was. Boy, don't quote me on this, but he was like 273 before we got started. So if he can maintain that and then gain a little bit more during spring ball, then in the summer he'll be able to gain that weight.
How does the game change going from that weak side defensive end to the strong side defense?
Well, you've got more combination blocks with a tight end and a tackle. If you're on the open side, you're really the tackle is your primary guy is going to block you, but you don't have as many combinations.
How's Ricky adjusting to the center position?
I think he's doing okay. I think that's, we did so much of it with him a year ago. Just Darryl, in fact, when we go to our quarterback snaps and all that, we've got about 5 guys snapping, so we've always done that part of it. Now, and he took some snaps in some live situations a year ago. I couldn't count the number for you, but, I think he's doing okay.
Brady, you mentioned how Will Campbell's a leader now. And has he shown you in 4 practices the consistency you and Greg want to see out of him?
Say it one more time, Tim.
You mentioned Will Campbell's a leader now. Have you seen the consistency out of him in 4 practices that you wanted to see?
Yeah, I wouldn't say all the way yet. I mean, you know, I think there's so much more that we can get from him. And what I like about it is his attitude towards it and how he, you know, we do some winners and losers every practice, you know, and it pays to be a winner. And losing, there's consequences. And defensively, we've had a couple consequences, and he's done a great job of running the consequences.
So he's been on the losing end.
Yeah.
What does it take to do that? Just
It's just stuff we do.
okay.
Who else is snapping besides Ricky and Jack?
Jack, Joey Brzezinski, and Ricky. And Joey's a guy that really is kind of growing into it pretty well.
Has anything stood out at that left guard spot yet?
No, I think Elliott's done a pretty good job to this point, and you've got that kind of 3-way rotation. You know, Ricky can bounce over there because he's played it. Jack's taking a little bit of snaps there. Joey's taking some snaps there. So, if anything, we're developing some guys who have multiple skills that, you know, in the long run can help you.
Can you see the comfort level in Denard that's different than what you saw even last fall?
Yeah, I would say so, Mark. He not watching the game, the practice tape yet of what we just did, but from yesterday, there wasn't any doubt that I thought there was a marked improvement in some areas with throwing, decisiveness, good decision making, and those things.
What's the most noticeable thing that you've seen from him?
Decisive with his throws.
What are you looking for from tight end exactly? Because obviously,
Sure, yeah.
from tight end, because you have 2 scholarship guys, a walk-on, and then 2 guys who are just kind of learning it.
Well, we got to have a guy who can move the line of scrimmage first and foremost. You know, whether we're running the power out of one back set, gun set, or if we're running the power and the outside stretch play out of 2 backs. You've got to have a guy who can combination block down on a big defensive end with a tackle. You got to have a guy that can handle what we call a 6 technique, a head up guy, defensive end, and if you want to try and get to the edge, and that's what you got to have. I mean, and that's, you know, Koger was a guy who could do multiple things, and I think Brandon Moore, you know, in these 4 days is, I would say, growing up a little bit, you know, which is part of maturity that we all go through. But you know, I like what he's doing.
Is he far and away better than everybody else right now?
I don't know if it's far and away, but he's the best one at it so far. Most experienced, too.
How your true freshman holding up?
Say it again.
How your true freshman holding up?
The 3 early guys, really well. Really well. You know, I think they're all 3 very willing, and they all 3 have an athleticism to them. I think Joe and Caleb, you know, are physical linebackers, and they both run pretty daggone well. And Jared, he's got a pretty good playing the ball and doing those things, you know, and at the same time he's learning all this stuff. This coverage is this, and when they motion this guy over, what do you do? And it was zone, is it a zone blitz, or is it man coverage? So, I mean, there's a lot of things, and it's always hard at safety position. Probably is about as hard as any within the defense because the adjustments they have to make.
Brady, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year weren't you working with the interior defensive lineman a little bit? And I guess is that the case this year? And have you been taking Will and, you know, I guess Jabril moved inside too? Have you been taking those?
Yeah, you know, Jabril at times, Jerry and I kind of switch him back and forth, but Will and Quentin Washington and Richard Ash are the 3 guys that I've got a great opportunity with.
And now, I mean, you go from having Van Bergen and Mike Martin to senior guys who played a lot, and now you've got I guess how is that going to change how you approach?
Well, you know, I don't know if it ever changes how you coach because I think you make a real mistake, and I did it here in 1998, having 3 returning starters back from a national championship team. You know, I didn't do a good job as a coach of sticking with the basics and a progression that you want and an expectation that you need to have. And I've promised myself since then I wouldn't do it again.
So you did that with returning starters, or?
Say it again.
You said you did that with returning
Yeah,
starters?
I had 3 returning: Rob Arenas, James Hall, and Josh Williams.
So what did you do? What did you regret that you did with them?
I didn't coach them hard enough. Didn't coach them. Didn't. They assumed they knew how to play the game of football.
How long did it take you to figure out that happened?
After we got our tails whipped by Syracuse.
Was it just kind of like a complacency thing, almost,
Yeah.
on your part then?
Yeah.
From both sides of that, or was that something that you allowed?
Well, believe me, if it, the kids don't want to be complacent. So that was my fault, totally.
Got a couple more.
What have you seen from Mike Schofield at right tackle? You like that move?
Yeah, I do, and I think he's playing with more confidence, which I really like, you know. And I think, you know, that always helps when you have all that snaps that he had, you know, in big games. So I really, you know, I'm real excited for him.
Now that you guys are in padded practices, I mean, the level of physicality, you've talked about how that's really important to you. You see that that's going to continue, and you want to keep it at that throughout spring.
Yes, no question about it. Yeah, we will be as physical as we can possibly be.
Brady, do you expect Roy's numbers to go up maybe now that he moves over to Hemingway's playing for position?
You know, I think the expectation has to come with people, how they want to defend you. You know, I think that's always a big part of it, you know. Roy is a guy who I should have mentioned earlier as far as leadership and doing those things by example that I've been really impressed with.
What have you seen from Gerald Robinson?
Gerald's got a chance. He's got a huge chance to be a big contributor. And he's showing more consistency. He's caught the ball well. You know, Gallen and him and Roy both, you know, Drew to some extent has done a good job. And, you know, the receivers are really competing well.